as Eta heads into the Gulf of Mexico tonight and into Monday afternoon. Dr. Nab?
Yeah, Mike, and it's not just the Florida Peninsula, it's the Florida Keys that are dealing with Eta, making landfall north and east of Key West, which is on the western side of Eta. So they have not yet gotten to the stronger winds and the heavier rain that they're going to get. So that's a calm look at Key West. Things are going to change as we get into Monday morning, and it's going to last for multiple days as the system sits in the Gulf of Mexico. And that is why that flash flood watch goes all the way into Tuesday evening, because just because it's moving into the Gulf doesn't mean it's going to get far enough away to stop the wind and the rain in the Florida Peninsula. In fact, when we get into Tuesday evening, it's still out in here, perhaps as a hurricane, and that puts the Florida Peninsula on the southerly onshore flow, the windier side, the rainier side for days. And then it doesn't get any better really late in the week when the forecast brings it back closer to Florida. So assuming that all plays out that way, it's going to be a rainy several days in the state of Florida, where the European model, the latest main run, it does keep most of the heaviest rain offshore, but not by a lot. So any change in the structure or a little bit more to the east could bring a lot of that onshore in the western port of the Florida Peninsula. And then, by the way, it's going to be eventually raining in portions of Georgia and the Carolinas if it gets dragged up northeastward. Now, the GFS has a little bit less of the rain over the Florida Peninsula, but look at what it piles up offshore. So this is all about how far west of Florida that it takes up residents. But in the meantime, the other water problem that we have and are going to have on the west coast of Florida for the next several days is storm surge. Got the storm surge warning in the Florida Keys right now, the center right about in here. So you got onshore flow to the east of it. You got onshore flow to the west of it coming off the Gulf side. So storm surge will be relatively easy to come by, unfortunately, in the Florida Keys. And then you could have 2, 3, or 4 feet of saltwater flooding above normally dry ground. And then this problem will probably become greater farther up the west coast of Florida. With a hurricane perhaps sitting out here, you're going to have a lot of water rises on the west coast of Florida. So, Jackie, it's going to be a long duration event for the state of Florida and for the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, the whole week, unfortunately, ahead of us, Dr. Nab. Let's talk about some of the cities and some of the other impacts that we're going to be experiencing the days ahead, starting out with a live look at Miami. Miami was kind of sandwiched in between the two bands that were the worst throughout the evening. And just about an hour or so ago, Miami, especially South Miami, really started picking up on the strong gusty winds. 51-mile-per-hour wind gust was recorded here, and you can see the rain is coming down very heavy right now at Miami. So just stay aware and stay alert. Flooding a good possibility in this area as you continue to get hammered at this hour. Now, Naples on the other side of the peninsula, you've been doing pretty good so far today. You've had gusts around 25, maybe up to 30 miles per hour, and that's it. Notice the water's looking a lot calmer here too. That's going to change with time. Things are going to get on the rough side tomorrow for you in Naples. You're under the tropical storm warning, and you may also see a few tropical tornadoes. We do have the risk of a few storms that do rotate tonight. We've been seeing a lot of rotation offshore, but the storms just kind of aren't making their way, or the rotation isn't holding together as it works its way on land. So knock on wood as I say that, it's still going to be a possibility in the hours ahead. And I'm especially looking at this area right in here for that possibility on the east coast of Florida. Now, we've got torcons tonight of a 2 and a 3. That's on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is greatest. 1 is the lowest amount. But if there's a number, it means there's a risk out there. So don't be shocked, and make sure you have a way to get alerted in the overnight hours for tonight. So after you go to bed, make sure that, the alerts are set on your phone properly, that you've got a NOAA weather radio, something that's going to wake you up, because it is certainly something we have got to watch out for. Tomorrow, I think more of southwestern Florida will be affected by this. Naples, Everglades City. Still, the Keys are going to get in on this. So as Dr. Nab was talking about, as this moves off towards the west, we're still going to be on that bad side, or that dirty side of the storm, meaning we'll still see onshore flow, we'll still get heavy downpours, and still a risk of a couple of supercell thunderstorms. thunderstorms. So Miami, your impacts, you're in the thick of it right now, I know, and we'll continue to see some wind gusts potentially around 50 miles per hour or better at times through the rest of the night tonight and even into the day tomorrow. Our latest rainfall forecast gives you an additional 2 to 3 inches. But if some of those persistent bands set up and stay there, just note that we could get some locally heavier amounts than that. Let's take a look, by the way, at our future radar. This is our latest high-res model, and it is indicating that we are going to be continuing to get in on some of those heavier bands through the overnight hours tonight into early tomorrow morning. So if you're an early riser and you head out to work before the sun comes up, just use extreme caution and make sure you check in here. We're going to start live at 5 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow here on the Weather Channel to help you get through the rest of Eta. Here's a look at the future radar Monday afternoon, and you can really start to see that focus then into southwestern parts of the state as well as into the Keys. So still getting in a lot of action with a lot of heavy rainfall here that will continue into your Tuesday, and that's when a lot of the flood alerts have been extended to, and they'll likely get extended northward too with time. So let's take a look at the forecast rainfall the next 5 days, indicating a wide area of 1 to 3 inches of rainfall, and then wherever you see those gold areas, that gives you the idea that 3, maybe 4 more inches of rain could still develop out of those spots. Fort Lauderdale, boy, second wettest year on record to date. And we've got, what, another 3 to 5 inches of rainfall to come potentially with Eta. The strongest winds happening now and will continue overnight and through the day on your Monday when you could get those 50-plus gusts. In Tampa, with the latest forecast, right now we're thinking for you around an inch or so of rain. But if it tracks a little closer inland, your rain game could go up pretty significantly, Tampa. So just be on alert and be aware that changes are a possibility here. There's a look at your future radar as we step you through the morning here on Monday. Notice those storms coming in from the east, heading towards the west, and those could bring some heavy downpours that will be spotty across the region through the day tomorrow and into the afternoon hours tomorrow as well, and perhaps getting a little break in the action as we get more of that westerly draw from Eta later into the night. Here's a look at the forecast conditions and impacts and timing for you, Tampa. Then now through Tuesday, we'll see 25-plus mile per hour wind gusts. The strongest of the wind gusts will likely be during the day on Monday. And there's a look at the rainfall forecast. We showed you about an inch, but locally heavier amounts could be up to 2 inches as those downpours continue. I know, Dr. Nab, you're going to talk a little bit more about Tampa and what kind of chance they could have at getting pretty close to a second landfall. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the chances are high, but it's not a guarantee. Okay, that when you get 3, 4, 5 days out, it's not certain exactly how strong Eta will be and exactly where it'll go, but it is going to be in the Gulf of Mexico, and it is going to be churning up the Gulf, and Tampa will be on the wetter onshore flow side. So Tampa, you're going to know it's out there one way or the other. So because there could be a lot of changes in the next few days, don't take this forecast to the bank. Stay with us over the next few days because things could change. I can almost guarantee you that the system is not going to follow right down this white line. We're just putting that line on there so you can tell what in the world direction is going, given how weird this cone looks. So that's just to give you a sense of the direction. But it could meander, stall out here, and it might or might not make it to the coast as a tropical storm. There's at least a chance. So now, let's take a look. Here's the European model. Look at how it stalls out there for a little bit, and then this next trough picks it up, and it holds together against some wind shear, comes ashore northwest Florida a little bit weaker, and then maybe the rest of it makes it to the east coast of the U.S. Not all the European model ensembles, though, have the system remaining intact all the way to the coast. So, given that, watch what the GFS, the latest run, does. It stalls out here in the southeastern Gulf, and then it starts coming, then it starts going, it doesn't know where it wants to go. It just kind of meanders and tours the Gulf of Mexico for the next week and a half, Jackie. So that would be a weaker system that would do that. That's the good news. A stronger system would hold together against that shear and maybe come ashore in Florida. So I guess, do we start rooting for the weaker GFS solution to wander the Gulf of Mexico as a weaker system. 2020 has all kinds of surprises, it appears.
Right, and the GFS was doing crazy things initially, I think, and now we're starting to see it be a little bit more of an outlier. Dr. Knapp, you know, confidence is pretty good that this is going to move back towards Florida overall, though certainly that's not set in stone. What are the chances, do you think, if at all, that this could actually make a landfall in Florida and then get in close towards the Carolinas? Is that a possible scenario also?
Oh, very much so, because that wind shear that is going to be steering it to the northeast is also going to keep it north loaded. So even if it's not all that strong, it will still be big, and the winds will extend well to the north into the Carolinas, even if it's making landfall in Florida.
Hurricane season doesn't stop for a pandemic, and neither do we. Get the information you need to stay safe every day, right here on the Weather Channel.
And this year, hurricane season just doesn't seem to stop, period. You kind of wonder if this will end up being like 2005 and something happens in December as well. I mean, just because the humans say November 30th is the date doesn't mean that's what the atmosphere will do. We have plenty to worry about today, though, don't we? And over the next few days with Eta that has crossed the Middle Keys, that center has, and the broader system is just plaguing the southern half of Florida with strong winds and heavy rains. Strong tropical storms aren't that much different than a 75-mile-an-hour hurricane, and certainly in terms of the water, we've got big problems from central Florida all the way down to the Keys, especially south of Lake Okeechobee on the peninsula. Now, the center of circulation is now over Florida Bay. Key West is on the weaker west side. The Key Largo area is on the much stronger, wetter northeastern side. In much of the Middle Keys, getting a little bit of a break from any wind, but that'll be increasing as the system moves farther to the west. Now, on the peninsula, we've got heavy rains and strong winds gusting over 40 miles an hour in many of the observing sites in Broward and Miami-Dade County. Flash flood warning in the Homestead area. You're about to get that closest to the center band slide up into you, so that flash flood warning is up for good reason because of the previous rains and more to come. Stay off the roads. Fort Lauderdale gusting to 44, West Palm to 45. Boca getting a little bit of a break for the moment, but you're under a flash flood warning from Boca down through all of Metro Broward County until 5 a.m. Number one, stay off the roads all night. Number two, anybody getting up in the morning needs to be cognizant of the fact that there could be water-covered roads when you get up. So this is going to be an all-night problem, and it's going to be raining some more tomorrow as well. Boca up to Boynton Beach, flash flood warning until 2 a.m. It's raining really hard right now in Boynton. It's just going to be on again, off again, but off the roads, I would say, is the main instruction here. And even if you're not under a flash flood warning, you're under a flood warning in all the metro areas till 12:45 in the morning. That probably will get extended. Look at how much rain, the volume of water in southern Palm Beach and in Broward County, over a half a foot of rain, nearly a foot in some spots. This flash flood problem will continue through tomorrow morning, and then it will continue all the way into Monday and into Tuesday. That flash flood watch is up for a long time because this system, Jackie, is not going to make a whole lot of headway into the Gulf of Mexico, sticking near Florida for days to come.
You're right. So a lot of impacts that we're still going to have to deal with. So we just have to be patient and we have to stay alert and stay on top of it. So know that of all the hazards that Dr. Nab was talking about, flooding is going to be the most likely, most widespread problem. But we've got a few other issues that we may be facing here, including the threat of a couple of tornadoes. Now, it's these storms off the coast here that I'm keeping an eye on for storms that are actually rotating right now offshore. And if those continue to rotate and work their way on top of land, they become tornadoes. There's also some rotation in these cells just offshore here towards Miami. And I'm also keeping an eye out here, that line looking like we've got some supercells. They're still far away, so that would be hours out ahead of us. So this is just one of the many things that we're keeping our eye on here. In addition to the flooding, we've got the tornado risk that's going to be ongoing through tonight. And I'm really talking about all of South Florida that could have that risk, but primarily over here into the southeast coast when I think those water spouts and those rotating storms eventually work their way onshore. We've got torcons of 2 and 3 across the region. When there's a number, there's a risk. The highest number on the scale, of course, is a 10. The lowest number is a 1. So we're in there. And as we head into tomorrow, the focus of a few thunderstorms that could rotate will be more into southwestern parts of Florida, but still we'll be watching you in Miami. Still we'll be watching you all throughout the Keys for that possibility. So as Dr. Nab was talking about, Eta makes its way into the Gulf, right? And it's going to be pushing off towards the west. But that keeps South Florida and the Keys into persistent rain bands from time to time. So Key West, I expect to see wind gusts through tomorrow, potentially, that could reach 60 miles per hour. And I don't think you're going to be pounded with 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts all day tomorrow, but in some of those stronger storms as they rotate on through, that's when that will occur. So you need to be alert. It's a bad travel day again for you tomorrow, Key West. Rainfall to come 1 to 2 inches. And what about West Palm Beach? West Palm Beach, boy, you've just been soaked with rainfall, not just from Eta, but from the last couple of weeks. October, you had a huge surplus by more than a foot. And now we're talking maybe another 2 to 3 inches on top of what you're already dealing with. Flooding will continue to be a big risk here. 50+ mile-per-hour wind gusts continue tonight from time to time and into early tomorrow morning. And how about you, Fort Myers? It hasn't been too terrible for you so far, but I think tomorrow will be more of your day with those stronger winds come in, 45-mile-per-hour gusts or so, and you could get as much as 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. All right, that's South Florida, but Dr. Nab, other parts of Florida need to be on alert because it looks like we could have a second landfall potentially in that state.
Yeah, so here's the cone. You got the strong tropical storm making its way to northwest Florida late in the week. Here's the European model depiction. Okay, not all the models are in agreement here. If it holds together against that wind shear, then it makes it to northern Florida when we get to the Thursday time frame, then what's left of it across the mid-Atlantic. However, if you look at the latest GFS model run, a weaker system that succumbs to the wind shear might hang out in the Gulf of Mexico just a little bit longer, maybe forever. We'll have to see which one's right.
Welcome back to a very windy South Beach here in South Florida. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. Our continuing coverage here on the Weather Channel of Tropical Storm Eta heading across the Florida Keys tonight. And ahead of it, we've had plenty of wind gusts over 50 miles an hour, and torrential rainfall. Not so much here. We've had about 3 inches of rain so far in Miami, but up the coast, look at these pictures out of Broward County and Fort Lauderdale. We had at least one water rescue, water as deep as waist deep in some of these areas, 8 to 10 inches of rain. The fire hose of this outer band has been arcing right into those areas for hours now, and it's going to be a continuing problem into early Monday morning. Keep in mind, Eta is going to cross the Keys and go into the Gulf of Mexico, so the brunt of the rain will move out, but we're going to have those trailing rain bands, and those will bring additional showers and thunderstorms even into Tuesday, and that's why the flood watch is up until then. These winds knocking down some palm fronds like this one. This will come down and knock down a power line and knock out power, and thousands of power outages. They continue to mount here in South Florida from the wind from Eta. Once Eta moves on through, it goes into the Gulf of Mexico, and by the middle of the week, we'll start to dry out here in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Dr. Nab?
Thank you, Mike. South Florida, really a dangerous place to be on the roads tonight. Just driving rain. I mean, think about it. When you've got heavy rainfall, that obscures your vision through the windshield, and it's even worse than usual because the tropical storm force winds are blowing it onto your windshield faster than usual, and it's heavy rain, and it's nighttime. It's just a bad, bad time. And there could be some downed trees on the roads as well. So a tropical storm is nothing to mess with, especially when it comes to water. 65 miles an hour is the max sustained winds. The center is in Florida Bay, having crossed the middle Florida Keys, but the center of action is mainly on the peninsula north of the center. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have some water impacts going on in the Keys. Storm surge warning is up for all the Florida Keys, the danger of life-threatening storm surge, and it can get you from both sides. It can come from the Atlantic side on the east side of the circulation. It can come from the Gulf side on the west side of the circulation. So, and then as it gets out in here, Key West could get it from the other direction. So stay off the roads. Listen to what local officials are saying, 2, 3, or 4 feet of saltwater flooding above normally dry ground. And it's no picnic on the East Coast beaches either. So stay out of the water. Don't drive on any coastal roads. They could be covered in salt and or fresh water. Now, all the fresh water that's falling on the peninsula has caused some very serious flooding problems, and you've got strong winds going on as well. So there's where the center is in Florida Bay, but look at how hard the winds are blowing here on the peninsula, gusting over 40 miles an hour in many spots. Flash flood warning in Homestead, and you're about to get that northeastern side of the closest band to the center. That flash flood warning is till 2 a.m. And you've got a flash flood warning here in Broward County where the gusts are still over 40 miles an hour. Look at this, flash flood warning until 5 a.m. Stay off the roads. Jackie, we just have to keep everybody safe at home tonight.
Yeah, and in the morning probably as well, Dr. Nab. And down the line, we're going to have to worry about that too, potentially in parts of the southeast, into the Carolinas, into the Appalachians. I'm concerned about that too, because all that tropical moisture is eventually going to be heading northward. We're waiting on this cold front at the surface, or a trough in the upper levels of the atmosphere, which is eventually going to be tracking off towards the east and helping to pick this up and pull it on up towards the north. But it's going to take its sweet time in doing so. And in the meantime, we'll watch all that moisture beginning to get lifted in across the region. So we'll get that southeasterly flow here by the middle of the week across Georgia into South Carolina. High concentrations of that tropical moisture. By Thursday, we'll watch it in North Carolina into parts of Virginia, and on Thursday still feeding into the region before finally that cold front moves through the region and kicks it out of here altogether and clears things out and dries things out as well. But notice still central and southern Florida has that flow through the region, keeping some tropical moisture in place. So rain arrives already by Tuesday in a place like Atlanta, into Savannah, up towards Hilton Head, Columbia, into Charleston Wednesday. Expect that in Charlotte, into Raleigh. That will continue into Thursday afternoon, and that's when some of the heaviest rainfall could happen across this region. Friday will start to dry things out a little bit more west to east. Still the Outer Banks getting some heavy rain during that period. So how much rain are we talking about? And most of this is really Tuesday through Friday that we're talking about, but widespread areas of 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. A lot of gold on the map here too, especially into the Carolinas, and that could be as much as 3 to 5 inches of rain, and that could be enough on top of ground that's had a lot of rain already the last couple of months to cause some flash flooding. So be alert as we look at the cone of Tropical Storm Eta.
Tropical Storm Eta is a wind maker in the Florida Keys and in the southern Florida Peninsula. It's producing storm surge in the Florida Keys primarily, but the largest number of people who are being affected with life-threatening conditions are being affected by heavy rainfall and flash flooding. It is a widespread problem in the southeastern metro areas of Florida, and a lot of people need to be staying off the roads tonight. So here's where the center circulation is of this 65-mile-an-hour tropical storm over Florida Bay. But the center of action is on the peninsula, especially in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. Now, there's a big area that's under a flood warning that goes from about Delray Beach all the way through Metro, Broward, and into Miami-Dade County. So Miami Beach are under a flood warning till 12:45 in the morning. And I wanted to point out the really nasty band in this area right now that's right there on the Broward-Miami-Dade line. It has come through North Miami and is now affecting places like Miramar and Pembroke Pines. And that band is on the southern end of what is our flash flood warning area that encompasses all of Metro Broward County and it goes up near Boca Raton. That flash flood warning goes till 5 a.m. and that's an area where there still could be rapid rises in water. And as that, let me go back one more time. There's this nasty band right here that's over Miramar in southern Broward County. That adds more rain to the places that have gotten half a foot to nearly a foot of rain. More flooding problems are going to happen. And that band has a history of producing about 2 inches in just 1 hour. So you see us show you rainfall maps where you could get 3, 4, 5 inches of rain over the next couple of days. You could get that tonight in some isolated spots if you get into one of these really, really nasty bands. So please stay off the roads. Now, south of Miami and Homestead, you're under a flash flood warning until 2 a.m. The band that's just northeast of the center of Eta is coming over North Key Largo and into Homestead. So there's more rain falling in that flash flood warning area. And then up north of Boca, up into Boynton Beach, you're under a flash flood warning in southern Palm Beach County till 2 a.m. It's not as persistent of a rain right now, but it's on again, off again, really, really heavy downpours. And that's an area where you've had, over the last 12 hours, 3, 4, 5 inches of rainfall. And because it's not going to get too far away from Florida over the next few days, it's going to continue to be a rainy, flood-producing scenario, Jackie. So I know people think, well, once landfall occurs and it's moving into the Gulf, this is almost over. In some places, it's just beginning.
Yeah, and multiple landfalls down the line, at least one more, most likely, Dr. Nab, maybe even more than that. Let's talk about where this is going to be going, what the models are doing, the possible scenarios as we go down the line. We know it's moving to the north and west now, and it's going to get pushed more westerly tomorrow and into your Wednesday around that ridge of high pressure. But we're waiting for this dip in the jet stream to track a little farther off towards the east and eventually bring it on up towards the north. And why we think it could be heading towards the Big Bend area, it all depends on how far west it goes before it goes north eventually, and then tracking up towards the north and towards the east. So there are a lot of different elements and factors that could get into play here. But either way, while it's over the open water, it's going to be off towards the west or the left of the Florida Peninsula, meaning all this tropical moisture is still going to get drawn up across the area throughout the week. So we've got a long time to go. Here's the latest spaghetti models, and these are brand new computer model forecasts just into the Weather Channel. And we're continuing to see this consistent westerly trend, but still some craziness that takes place beyond that. We still have some looping potentially here. Most of the models do bring it towards the Big Bend area eventually, but look at that. We got a brand new run of the GFS, and this is the second consecutive run where it's still trying to bring it farther off to the west. So that's been a little bit of an outlier, but it's starting to show that happening consistently. So it's really something that we have to pay attention to. There will be changes down the line. Where that cone is still is a pretty broad area, so keep that in mind. And we're still talking about anywhere from south of Tampa all the way up towards the Florida Panhandle or beyond. So here's a look at the Euro model, and the Euro model does show that intensification into the Gulf over the warmer waters here, but some wind shear will hopefully knock this down a little bit. It brings it right into the Big Bend area and then kind of scrapes it into the coastal Carolinas. So I really do want to point that out and give folks a big heads up into the Carolinas. Even though right now the cone stops short of you, that doesn't mean you couldn't be in it in the future, and you need to pay attention. And here's that GFS, and Dr. Neb, that's an outlier. Hope it continues to stay an outlier, because that makes a lot longer of a week and puts the northern Gulf Coast more under that threat, for sure.
Yeah, and Jackie, when you compare the GFS and the Euro in different situations this year, the Euro hasn't always been right. GFS has had it right sometimes too, so can't totally discount it. It's going to be a tough forecast over the next few days. Got to stay with us for the inevitable changes. Now, we are also looking at the possibility that Eta could set another record. Remember, it started as a depression here, and then it did this long path. It started on Halloween, and now, you know, it's got this path that takes it up into the northern Florida area into the weekend. Now, if it lasts until Saturday, that would mean it would be a tropical system for 2 straight weeks in November. That would set a record because in 1932, the Cuba hurricane formed on October 30th, lasted until November 13th. So it lasted 2 weeks, but it was only 13 days in November. It was a very deadly hurricane as well. But also in 1994, Gordon lasted for 13 days in the middle part of November, taking an eerily similar S-shaped path from Central America over Cuba and over Florida. That was 13 days as well. So again, if Eta lasts until this Saturday as a tropical system, that'll set the record for the longest lasting November tropical cyclone in the Atlantic on record.
Look.
It's been a day, hasn't it? In parts of Florida, we've had rough surf, we've had strong winds, we've had power outages and flooding rains. And that's really been the big concern here tonight with the latest tropical storm Eta. Let's get you caught up with what we know right now. Eta remains a strong tropical storm with maximum winds around 65 miles per hour. It made landfall about an hour and a half or so ago just to the south of Isla Mirada in the Florida Keys. It's continuing to move to the northwest right now, around 14 miles per hour, and it's had very persistent rain bands, especially into Broward County and Miami-Dade County, which has been leading to all kinds of flooding. We've had record rainfall in some areas, including you in Key West. It's expected to continue on a northwesterly track tonight, but tomorrow pushing a little more westerly around ridge of high pressure, and then eventually working its way up towards the north. While it's back over these open waters, farther away from land, it will likely intensify, perhaps up to a Category 1 hurricane. So that's the official forecast right there right now, and then eventually tracking up towards the north and the east with a likely second landfall into Florida, perhaps in the Big Bend area by the end of the week. But even though it's pulling away from Florida, we just really want to remind folks is that all the impacts are going to be here on the right-hand side of the storm. So don't get too excited about it pulling away because you're still going to be in the thick of some of this rain and some gusty winds. Hurricane warnings remain in effect across most of the Florida Keys. Hurricane watches from Miami to Naples, but you're also under tropical storm warnings, and that is going to continue well into tomorrow. We've had some pretty good squalls here with wind gusts in excess of 50 miles per hour. We've had that in Miami. We've got about 47,000 people without power in the state of Florida Florida right now. Most of those are just within these counties right here because of these bands. So the strongest of winds have been coming in with these thunderstorms as they progress from the east towards the west, and also concerned about a few of these storms that are offshore right now that are rotating. They could make their way onto land and become tornadoes. So just a heads up, we haven't had any warnings yet tonight. These have all kind of stopped spinning and fizzling out before they're made their way on the shore, but have a way to get alerted if you're going to bed here shortly. Flood watch remains in effect through Tuesday evening, and Dr. Nab, very likely these will get extended northward with time, as Eta is going to be a slow mover and last with us for days to come. But it may not just be Eta we have to watch out for down the line. What are you seeing out there in the Atlantic right now?
Yeah, too many things, really, and I'm not making it up. I wish I was. We have a couple of areas to watch in addition to slow-moving Eta over the next several days. Non-tropical area of low pressure in the subtropical central Atlantic, and an area to watch where a tropical wave could lead to development in the same area that Eta did a week ago. Now, here's the Azores, and this is a non-tropical area of low pressure in the middle of the Atlantic, and it's going to go eastward and affect land areas. It's just a matter of what kind of system it is. 4 out of 10 shot, according to the Hurricane Center, that it's either a tropical or subtropical cyclone within the next 5 days. But you're going to get affected there in the Azores and then headed over toward Spain eventually. Now, in the Atlantic Basin elsewhere, the Caribbean got a 30% chance of a depression or storm tropical forming within the next 5 days here in the central to western Caribbean, the same general area in which Eta formed. Why? Well, because we have a tropical wave. This was the visible imagery during the day on Sunday. See this general area of spin there? That's a tropical wave moving into the Caribbean. There goes our non-tropical low, but both of them are over warm waters. It's still warm out there, and it's warmer than average throughout the entire Atlantic Basin, and you got weak wind shear starting to form in the Caribbean, and here come the colors in the European model of another system trying to get going in the Caribbean. That's where it's going to happen if it's going to happen in November, Jackie.
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, Dr. Nab.
I'm sorry. I really am at this point, terribly.
Okay, well, at least we know that that possibility is out there. We just can't let our guard down. You've got to stay alert. You got to stay on top of it and stay prepared. Let's go back to Eta because I want to talk about some of the impacts now that we can expect down the line a little bit. And we could get some really heavy rain, not just a Florida thing, that this is going to move into Georgia. This is going to move into South Carolina, North Carolina, even into Virginia with widespread amount of rain across the region that could be 1 to 3 inches. In fact, locally heavier amounts can be expected. So a lot of gold, especially across the Carolinas, and I think especially with elevation where we could get as much as 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. The southeast does not need any more rain. We are waiting for that cold front across the nation's midsection to kick this thing out of here, kick it to the curb and out of the U.S. But unfortunately, this is going to be a slow mover in terms of getting it out of here, and that moisture will get lifted northward, even into Washington, D.C. and New York City Wednesday, Thursday, into your Friday. It starts to dry out west to east, and we'll look for some better conditions as we head into the weekend. In the meantime, be prepared. The rain already begins tomorrow and spreads its way northward by the middle of the week. I really think Wednesday and Thursday will likely be the days of the heaviest rainfall, and then Friday it starts to taper it off, and again, a better weekend ahead.
Tropical storm Eta continues to produce very heavy rain over southern Florida. There is still a life-threatening flood situation unfolding in the metro areas of Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade counties. We've got the storm surge and wind and heavy rain threat in the Keys, and this system is not going to be moving too far away from Florida for days to come. So we got a lot to break down here, not just over the next couple of minutes, but really all week long. So let's take a look at this large area that is under flash flood warnings. It's from Palm Beach through Broward through Miami-Dade County on the northern and northeastern side of Eta that has been the wettest, windiest side all day long on Sunday, and it'll continue to be the case all night long. Now, there's a brand new flash flood warning that has been issued that encompasses all of Metro Miami and Homestead. So there was a flash flood warning down in Homestead. Now that includes pretty much all of populated Miami-Dade County for the most part. Stay off the roads, folks. This is a really, really dangerous situation that's only going to get worse because rain just keeps falling in very large amounts. Look at this nasty band right there that went through Miami a little while ago, but it's going to be off and on again, heavy rain bands. And look, this flash flood warning goes till 5 a.m. Stay off the road warning is what I want you to treat it like. If you stay home, stay off the roads, you should be fine. Now, looking a little bit farther north, we still have a flash flood warning also until 5 a.m. for Boca Raton and all of Metro Fort Lauderdale and Broward County. And that band that went through Miami within the last hour or two is now over Miramar and Pembroke Pines and Davie and Weston. And you've got more coming in off the coastline. And then north of there, Boca and Boynton Beach is also under warning. But look at how much rain has fallen primarily in Broward and in southeastern portions of Palm Beach County, where you've got that flash flood warning for Boca up to Boynton until 2 a.m., and that probably will get extended as well. Now, you might be thinking, well, this has made landfall and it's moving into the Gulf, so this rain problem isn't going to last too long. But the problem is this isn't going to get too far into the Gulf, and then it's probably going to come back toward Florida. The Florida Peninsula will remain on the windiest, rainiest side of the system for days to come. So for Monday night into Tuesday morning, the flash flood problem will continue. In fact, the flash flood watch stays in effect until Tuesday evening at least. And look how long this system will stay in the Gulf and how close to Florida it will remain. So stay with us here on the Weather Channel all week long.